Hello you what's faces, welcome back to a new video. Tygon here, and today I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about settings and sensitivity in Call of Duty Mobile. If anything changes, I will be the first to update you on that. So let's get into it. First off, we have controls, simple mode and advanced mode. Simple mode simply limits you. You can't do everything you can do in advanced mode, and that's because it's just not able to keep up with certain player movements. It needs a little bit of time to actually track and lock onto someone, which when you get into higher levels, especially when you're playing ranked, that's not going to be viable. So I recommend having on advanced mode and having it on custom. For example, if you're trying to snipe and someone moves really fast, you could actually catch that using advanced mode, but simple mode is going to have to actually lock on to that person. So keep that in mind. Now let's get into basics. So I have on aim assist. When you're playing mobile games, please use aim assist. It is really good for quick scoping as well. Now I have quick run from prone, because if you don't have that, you're going to end up getting shot because you're just going to be moving too slowly. I have the fixed R fire button, and if you have any type of class HUD setup like mine, you need to have that on, because it basically wherever you touch, if you have that, if you don't have fixed right fire button, it's just going to move everywhere. It's horrible. Now fast throw grenade, I have it on. You don't necessarily have to have this on, but for me it works pretty well. If I see someone and I know where I need to throw the grenade, so I just hit the grenade button and I can throw it instantly. Now fixed joystick, don't use it because it allows you to move your ADS button whilst it basically allows you to look in your ADS button. Now, it does also give a fixed joystick, which is amazing, but it's not worth it to actually have to move your ADS button. And the way I have my HUD layout set up, it's not good for me. And if you have anyone similar to mine, if you play Claw, I don't recommend having this. Basically, when you're pushing the ADS button, if you move your finger on the ADS button, it allows you to look using the ADS button instead of having to turn your screen, which is a problem. It may be good for some people, but I have to keep it off. I really do hope later in the future that they switch this. But anyway, let's get into display left fire button. I always have that on because I do need that for hip firing, and I do recommend, if you guys want to play competitively, not necessarily competitively, but if you want to actually play in ranked and stuff like that, have on your left fire button, because you're going to need to hip fire in some situations and not aim down sights, and this is something that you're going to need to do. Now for ADS, I have on hybrid ADS. It doesn't really matter for me. I've tried all of them and it doesn't really seem to make a difference, but I will go into them later on and I'll make a video on that separately. Now slide while running, always have it on slide immediately. If you're gonna have it on long press, you might as well not even use the slide button, because it is not worth it. You're not gonna be able to time it right because you're gonna have to be holding it to actually use it. It's just not worth it to not have it on immediate. Best case scenario is if they were to actually make a separate button, which they had in a previous beta, but I do believe they took that out because people were most likely abusing drop shotting, and so this makes it so you can't really drop shot super fast. Now I don't have on always sprint. So the reason why I don't have on always sprint is because you don't need to be sprinting around everywhere. Sprinting is good in some cases to get you objectives and stuff, but when in gunfights, you don't really necessarily want to sprint. You want to strafe and stuff, but it really makes it hard to aim down sights and get your gun up. So especially remember, when you're going around corners, make sure to walk. So I have it pretty high, not too high, so I can also walk, but at the same time I can get away in certain situations. Now the reason why it would be good to have an actual fixed joystick is because it's harder to actually it's harder to run, because if your joystick is moving, then it's not going to necessarily register you running as quickly. So that's why I do hope they do add a fixed joystick without the ADS button being affected as well. Now camera FOV, I have it at 60 where it normally is. You could actually make your camera FOV higher, that way you can see more, but for now I'm just going to keep it where it is, because that does change your perception of the actual game, making it easier if you're on phone, but it does require more power, so I don't really want to affect that right now until I get like a better phone or something like that. So I'm just going to leave it at 60. But if you are on phone and you have a pretty good phone, play with it, see what you can get out of it. Now for weapon aim, I just haven't really messed with that. Now let's go into audio and graphics. For me, I have my graphic quality very high and my frame rate very high. Now please remember this always. Frame rate is more important than graphic quality. If you have the choice between graphic quality and frame rate, always choose frame rate. The only real reason I have my graphic quality so high is because I make YouTube videos and people don't like looking at pixels. So that's why I have it like that. I have depth of field on because I do like to quick scope from far away. It's really fun. People just don't, wait, how did he see me? Is he hacking or something? That's pretty fun. So that's why I have depth of field on. And anti-aliasing just makes the game look better. It makes corners smoother so it doesn't look as pixelated. Now, I do recommend having on ragdoll physics because ever since they added this option, just if you have it off when people die, it just looks weird. I don't have bloom on because it does look nice for some shots, like I might use it for a thumbnail, but I'll turn it back off because it could sometimes, for me at least, cause glare when I'm trying to play the game. Now, my Battle Royale mode graphic style I have on Black Ops because I just like the way it looks. It looks really vibrant and it really does allow players to stick out. Please keep that in mind. So basically, how high you have the one you choose affects how you see players, so that's why I choose to have the Black Ops little graphic style thing. Now let's get into sensitivity. This is going to be a really big thing, so if you've like heard everything and you wanted to hear, please, I guess hit the like button. But this is we're gonna really be getting into the meat of the video right here. So what we're going to be talking about is actually rotation mode. That's going to be the big thing here. So the difference between fixed speed, distance speed, and speed acceleration. I'm going to start with speed acceleration. So speed acceleration is a option that allows you to change how you look based upon how fast you move your finger across the screen. For example, if you're facing forward and you move your thumb to the right side of the screen as fast as you can, it may end up having your character looking completely behind themselves. Whereas if you were just on fixed and you moved it as fast as you can, unless you have it on a really high sensitivity, it's only going to move it so far. So speed acceleration, depending on how fast you move, it multiplies it depending on a value, and that then gets it to a certain location depending on the speed. So it multiplies your speed by the value and then it gets you to that location. Now the dangerous thing about speed acceleration is it's really hard to predict. It's really hard for the human mind to predict or get a feel for what speed acceleration is. So that's why I do recommend having distance acceleration. Now its distance acceleration is a little bit different than fixed speed, but basically it allows you to not necessarily predict, but for example, if you were to move an inch on your screen, if you have distance acceleration on and you turn it up, it would make that inch in game either smaller or larger. Now the difference between fixed speed and distance acceleration is really small, but at the same time it's vastly different. For example, fixed speed, and let's say you have fixed speed with a high sensitivity to snipe, that's going to be way harder than using distance acceleration with a regularly decently medium turn sensitivity. And the reason why that is because the best way I can explain it is fixed speed is like having the power of the flash and running super fast, but you don't have a perception of it, so you can't actually recognize what you're doing. You're just going to be moving super fast. Now distance acceleration allows you to know exactly where you're going to land, just because even if you can't perceive how fast you're going, it's way easier, so it allows you to know where you can land. For example, imagine the Hulk jumping 1 mile. He knows he's going to land 1 mile, whereas if you're the Flash running a mile, you're not going to be able to perceive anything, so you're just going to get hit. So it may sound weird, but think of it as teleporting to one location versus just running super fast but not knowing where you're going. So that's why I do recommend having distance acceleration on, especially if you're sniping. If you are on tablet, speed acceleration is actually not that bad because you have way more space, but if you're using phone, I recommend using distance acceleration or fixed speed. But that's all I have for that. Now for global sensitivity, I always choose custom, but I do recommend if you guys are just getting into the game and you want to test some sensitivities, you just work with these. That way you can edit it from there. Now, of course, you can use my sensitivity if you want, but it's always good to find your own. So what I recommend doing if you do actually want to find your own personal sensitivity is to load up a not necessarily private match, just any match, and choose as your secondary a knife. Now what you want to do is basically just use that knife only to take people out, and what this will allow you to do is see how good your hip fire tracking is. That's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to actually track people using your hip fire. Not actually firing, but yeah, using your hip fire. So without scoping in, you want to be able to easily track your enemies. And the reason why this is important is because if you can do that, then that means your sensitivity is golden. Now, once you scope in, you have to also have that at a good sensitivity for you. But I'm going to get into what sensitivity I have, and if you guys want to copy that, you can. My sensitivity, in my opinion, that feels really good for me, and it does allow me to snipe, quick scope, and also at the same time use ARs and SMGs. So let's get into it. So for my camera sensitivity, I have it at my turn sensitivity, I have it at 112. Please keep in mind though that my distance acceleration value is 229, so keep that in mind. My sniper rifle sensitivity is 125, and finally my ADS sensitivity is 142. Now keep in mind, I'm always changing these just to fit me a bit better, so if you want to see my latest one, it will always be in my description. Now turn sensitivity for firing 50 doesn't really I think that works well for me. Sniper rifle sensitivity 107 and ADS sensitivity 164. Now for gyroscope sensitivity, it's really not applicable because at the moment gyroscope is not working right, but once it does, I will be the first to let you guys know, and I'll have a video dedicated to gyroscope. So if you want to see that, just I guess hit the bell button and stay tuned. Now that's all I have for you guys today. If you do want to see more of my content, please hit the bell button and subscribe. But that's it. Also, Battle Royale sensitivity is different, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to actually transfer your multiplayer sensitivity to your Battle Royale sensitivity in my next sensitivity video. But yeah, that's been a lot about sensitivity. This video might have been not as fun as the other ones, but hope you guys enjoyed. Tygon out. Bye guys.